It's no BS, it's all truth.
But they are who we thought they were, and we let them off the hook.
It's time to get straight to the point. Here's Adam Sager.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into the third episode of the Straight to the Sox podcast, part of the Straight to the Point podcast channel that I have, where I talk about everything, including the Chicago White Sox, the Bears, the Bulls, the Cubs, the Blackhawks. That's the all-encompassing Chicago podcast that technically I haven't even started yet, because this is all brand new. I got Straight to the Point, which is kind of everything in general, where I just talk, if there's an episode where I just kind of want to talk football and basketball and baseball, just kind of put it all together in kind of a nationalist type show. That's what I do. If I just want to talk national, I do Straight to the Point. So I just do different types of episodes. This is Straight to the Sox. I recorded one this morning. Talk about the Lance Lynn trade. Talk about what's next for right field for the Chicago White Sox. And, I put it out and literally took a shower, got out, was doing a couple things here and there, and I believe I even hit submit on my podcast right after I got out of the shower, as it went through all its stuff that I do with it. And then here it is. I look on Twitter, and of course the White Sox sign a right fielder. I'm like, well, there goes that podcast. Well, at least the back half of that podcast. The Lance Lynn stuff still works. And if you missed that, they traded Dane Dunning and Avery Weems, I believe was his name, left-handed reliever that they drafted a few years back. Traded those two guys to the Texas Rangers for Lance Lynn. Lance Lynn, of course, on a one-year, $8 million deal. He now jumps into the top three of the rotation. How they work themselves out remains to be seen, but I would assume Giolito is your number one. And then you have Keuchel and Lance Lynn, who are both very good pitchers. Finished 5th, 6th, 7th in the AL Cy Young voting last year. So, I mean, if you're a White Sox fan, how can you hate that? I'm not the biggest Lance Lynn fan. I did listen to the interview of him today on the Danny Parkins show with him and Matt Spiegel. Lance Lynn sounded awesome. Sounded like a great guy, and the story he told about how he got his career back going, got his pitching back to the high peak of 2019, where he was a Cy Young finalist, where he was a guy that was looked at as a true ace the way he pitched that year, and then he followed it up last year in the shortened season by pitching really well again. What did he do to get that success? He went back to the guy that he's been working with since high school. They changed a couple things. They really concentrated on spin rate. They concentrated on what his best pitches were and how to utilize them to make them even better. He didn't take, the sinker wasn't working for him. So he canned it. He nixed it. Got rid of it. Kind of like what Lucas Giolito did. Went back to his high school coach, who now is actually the White Sox pitching coach, in Ethan Katz. He went back and worked with him a few years back, and remember, Lucas Giolito was literally, based on Fangraphs WAR, he was the worst pitcher in baseball. Statistically, he was the worst pitcher in baseball. Spends one offseason with Ethan Katz, changing his arm location and changing the pitches he uses and how's he throw it and where he throws it from on the rubber. They went through everything, and they made sure that everything made sense to Lucas to use what he does really well to make him an even better pitcher. Well, that's exactly what Lance Lynn said he did with the guy that he's been working with since high school out of Indianapolis. He still works with him to this day, and kind of the same thing. His best pitch is his fastball. They figured out to get more spin, how to get more spin rate, how to get the location better, and they moved him on the mound. They just tweaked a few little things, and now he's been one of the best pitchers in baseball over the last 2 years. So if you missed it, there it is. But this podcast is about the addition, the welcoming back of Adam Eaton. Adam Eaton is now going to be the right fielder for the White Sox, and what most likely is going to be a platoon situation in right field with Adam Engel. But I think what else the Adam Eaton signing does, Adam Eaton is not bad against lefties. He's a lefty hitter that is not bad against lefties. This would allow Adam Engel to, play out in left field. You know, because Engel is such a great defender, it doesn't matter where you play him. He's going to be very good. That's the one great thing, and that's why he's a great utility outfielder. A guy that can do everything. Adam Engel can move around. Yes, I think it will be a platoon, but I don't think it'll be a straight split platoon between Eaton and Engel. Adam Eaton... Now, if you look around, Sox fans, a lot of them were angry. He signed a 1-year, $7 million contract with an $8.5 million team option next year with a $1 million buyout. So technically, if they buy him out, it would be a 1-year, $8 million contract for Adam Eaton. Oh, my God, this is so cheap. This is Jerry just being cheap. This is the White Sox just being cheap. Nothing's changing. Here's my question to all Sox fans. If you thought that George Springer should be the guy, and no matter what, Jerry should go out and spend the money necessary to get George Springer to the White Sox, then yeah, I can see why you're saying, oh, they went the cheap route. But if you're a guy who is now bitching because they went cheap, because they didn't sign Jock Peterson, then... but yet they're being cheap. Okay, what is Jock Peterson signing for 2 years, $20 million? Does that say, oh man, the White Sox are really out there spending money? No. This was the fact that the White Sox must have felt Eaton was the best fit for this lineup. Yes, the financials worked out. But the other thing is, you know, and I heard this on the radio today, I saw this on Twitter. Well, the White Sox didn't add for the future. They added for 2021. Well, 2021 is a World Series or bust year. We've already heard it. And you know what? There is not a guy out there, in my opinion, that is the right fielder of the future. You want to know who the right fielder of the future possibly is that the White Sox could sign this year? And I will guarantee you one of these two guys will sign, if not both. Most likely not both, but one of the two is Yoenis Cespedes, Yoenis' little brother, who's 22-ish, coming out of Cuba. He's a free agent. January 15th he can sign. And Oscar Colas, another Cuban outfielder who's been over in Japan playing in their minor leagues, who is the top prospect, or one of the top prospects in the international market. Those are your right fielders of the future. Those are your outfielders of the future. If they can get both, especially with the money they have left, stand up and give Rick Hahn and Marco Patti and Kenny Williams and Jerry Reinsdorf and whoever else was involved getting those both to sign a standing ovation for the rest of the offseason. If they get one of them, you give them a standing ovation anyways, because there are pieces that they continue to hit on and they make good on. And they're not 16-year-old kids that we have to wait and see how they turn out. Yeah, a lot of those kids work out. Eloy Jimenez was one of those. But there's also a lot of bust-outs. These guys are 22, 23. We see the talent. They're 21. However old they are, they're in their early 20s. They're not far from major league action. Yeah, they'll need some time in the minors. But they're not far from major league action. They're not multi-years away. Either one of those guys could be in right field sometime in 2022. So I think those are the guys you're looking at. I don't see a guy, George Springer, sure. I love George Springer. I spent almost 7 years in Houston. So I sat and watched George Springer for all those years. Great player. Love his energy. Love the way he plays the game. Love the joy he plays with. Love the postseason success he's had. The big hits and big moments. We obviously saw what he did in the World Series out in Dodger Stadium. And it's just incredible what he's done. But he is almost 32. Are you comfortable giving someone who's 32 over $100 million? That's a big question. That's a big question, and that's why I thought George Springer was never going to happen. Yeah, there's times I wish it was going to happen. Or I wanted it to happen, and I still do wish it would have happened. But the Sox also have to be smart with their money. You know, if they went out and spent big money on George Springer, what else would they have been able to do? So right now they've made the move for Lance Lynn. They made the move for Adam Eaton. You still have holes in this roster that you need to fill. Primarily, you need, in my opinion, you need another outfielder. I believe it was Jason Stark said something along the lines that execs don't think the White Sox are done. They could add all three spots: the lineup, the rotation, and the bullpen. A lot of chatter going around right now that one of the Sox main targets is Liam Hendriks, who, if you're a Sox fan, you remember quite well from the ALDS, or the wild card round, or whatever the hell we're calling it, where he threw a ton of pitches in his 2 games there, in games 3 and 4, or, God, I can't even remember how that playoff series went. No, games 2 and 3, excuse me. He threw a ton of pitches, but he was really damn good. One of the best relievers in baseball. A little bit older, I believe, at 31. But can you get him on a 3-year deal? Sox is sure as hell going to try. Try and replace Alex Colomé with him. And then you make that bullpen stronger. You get a better reliever at the back end. And Alex Colomé was really good the past 2 years. He was a strength for this team. But you can get even better. Aaron Bummer, healthy. Cody Hoyer going into now his 2nd year, coming off all this success and looking like a guy that you can really build on in this bullpen. Could end up being the closer of the future. You've got other guys, Evan Marshall, who's been great since being picked up as a non-roster guy. Non-roster invitee, and they tweaked a few things, and here he is looking really good and a big part of this. And if I remember correctly, he just got a contract extension of a couple years. And then you've got others. Jimmy Cordero is someone they seem to really like. I know Ricky Renteria really liked him. He used him all the time. So they still have Matt Foster is a guy. And I know I'm forgetting others. And then there's still youngsters coming. Guys that aren't going to work out as a starter could move to a reliever. Tyler Johnson. You know, when you look at his numbers from the minors, he's a guy that I really want to see. I thought he was going to get a shot sometime last year. He did not. Spent a lot of time down in Schaumburg. I think he will be one of the first relievers up through injuries or whatnot when it happens. So still have Reynaldo Lopez for the bullpen. So getting a guy like Liam Hendriks would be awesome. Would be awesome to match, especially at the back end with Hoyer and Bummer and then Hendriks in the 9th. Love that setup if they can make that happen. Probably as I get done and I edit this down a little bit and I send it out, and either by that point or a little bit later tonight, I'm sure they'll have another signing or some move that I will have to do another podcast. But I just wanted to jump on here and talk about, I think Adam Eaton, I get why people are frustrated, because people are waiting for the big move. People are waiting for the big move. And, you know, everybody keeps pointing at, they've only spent, $15, $16 million on Eaton and Lance Lynn. I mean, guys, that's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. It's not, while, yes, I want the big piece. I'd love Trevor Bauer. I'd still love them to go get Trevor Bauer and just say, you know what? Fuck it. We're going big time here. And we're going to put Bauer at the 1 or the 2 spot with Giolito. Then we got Keuchel, and we got Lance Lynn. You know, we have the best rotation in baseball, hands down. And then we have Dylan Cease and Michael Kopech, Garrett Crochet coming at some point, Jonathan Stever. We got all this depth of young guys that are just coming. And if we need to make a trade for somebody offensively, we can. If we need to go get a reliever, we can, because of all this excess starting pitching we have. Yeah, they could do that. Do I think they will? No, I don't. I think they're going to spread that money out. Spread that money out. They're going to, you know, look at a guy. I mean, back end of the rotation, you're looking at guys like Jose Quintana is being mentioned all the time, which, just really quick, if you think about it, and I saw this on, I can't even remember what the hell, Intentional Talk, I believe it is, with Chris Rose and Kevin Millar. Almost 4 years to the day. 4 years to the day. did Adam Eaton sign back with the White Sox. It was December 7th was when he was traded during the winter meetings to Washington for Lucas Giolito, who is the ace, Reynaldo Lopez, who will most likely start in the bullpen, and Dane Dunning. Dane Dunning was just shipped to the Texas Rangers, as I told you earlier, for Lance Lynn. So the Adam Eaton deal still paying dividends by getting themselves Lance Lynn with Dane Dunning, and now they bring Adam Eaton back. It's a crazy situation that, could kind of repeat itself. Now, Jose Quintana was dealt about 6 months later at the trade deadline for Eloy Jimenez and Dylan Cease. But if they bring Eloy back, you think about it, Quintana was dealt for two guys, mainly two guys. There's four total, but the two guys that are here, Cease and Eloy. And then Adam Eaton was dealt for three guys. Two guys are here. One was traded for Lance Lynn, so it's like the three guys are here. You look at it, if those two guys come back, which Eaton is reportedly pending a physical, coming back, and then Jose Quintana comes back, you've got the two you traded away, plus the two that Quintana brought in, and then the three players that have been part of that trade in certain ways still on the roster. That's 7 players from 2 trades. You traded away 2 guys, you got them both back after their deals expire, and then you still have the guys, minus one who you traded away for a better starter, to compete this year in 2021 to be the best team in baseball. Now, I said I want the White Sox. Adam Eaton is your right fielder. Platoonish with Adam Engel. Engel will fill in Luis Robert. If he needs a day off, Engel can slide over to left field if needed. Maybe Adam Eaton gets a day off and DHs. All that kind of stuff. There's so much versatility with this roster that I think we've talked about Jock Peterson. What precludes them from going and getting Jock Peterson still? Michael Brantley. I can't remember who said what anymore when it comes to all the tweets that have been sent out, but some think that they're still not out on Michael Brantley. That could definitely be still a move that they're looking to do. So I don't know how it could happen, but don't be surprised if another outfielder is brought in. And if it's not an outfielder, it's a DH. The guy that it does make some sense, as much as I don't know if he's worth it. I don't know how he would fit. I don't know what type of player he is. That's Kyle Schwarber. That is Kyle Schwarber. So, obviously Cubs non-tender him. I'm trying to, keep the Cub bias out of it. I think he's a great on-base guy, left-handed bat, which the Sox could use. And here's my thing. What I want from a Jock Peterson or a Michael Brantley or somebody like that. A Robbie Grossman has been brought up. Robbie Grossman now, to me, does not sit as well. I don't think he makes as much sense anymore because of the way that Adam Eaton is. Not a big power guy. I think you need someone with a little more pop. You have Eaton and Madrigal, who will probably hit 8-9. In which order, we'll kind of have to wait and see how the rest of the lineup works out. But Peterson or Schwarber, you think about it, could hit 6th or 7th in this lineup. Or Brantley could hit 6th. And you just think about what this lineup could be. It's incredible. So that's why I think they still have to go get another outfielder. Somebody that can come in, give them some home run power. You look at Kyle Schwarber. Just 2019, he slugged .531, hit 38 home runs, had a weighted runs created plus of 120. Now, I think he should be better. He he is a guy that has slimmed down, and he could play some left field. Him and Eloy could just kind of, today I'm going to DH, today you're going to DH, and let's just kind of work together. We'll just keep ourselves fresh. So I just do think that one of those three guys really stand out when you talk about Schwarber, Michael Brantley, and Jock Peterson. Yeah, I'm sure there's other names that make sense as well, but those are the three that really stand out. They bring Michael Brantley's a little different. He's not the power hitter, but he does bring some pop. He gets on base. He walks. He takes professional at bats constantly. I've watched him in Houston the last couple of years really closely. Obviously, we all saw him in Cleveland for a long time. Just dealt with a lot of injuries, but when he was out there, he put up numbers. Dude was really, really good. And he can play some left field. All these guys can play some left field. So I think that you bring some more versatility to your lineup by getting one of those guys. You're bringing more power, and you're rounding out this lineup, and then you worry about Andrew Vaughn in that whole situation. That's it. I mean, plain and simple. The Adam Eaton deal, I get why people are frustrated. Adam Eaton didn't leave here on the best terms. But you know what? That was 4 years ago. That was a completely different roster for the most part. That was a situation where that team was thought to be good enough to win. They thought they were ready to win, and things were not working out. Things were going down the toilet. Other situations were going on, and that's where everything got screwed up. He also went to Washington where for 4 years never really had any issues. He was part of a World Series team, and what do we always talk? We hear all this talk about negativity in a clubhouse, negativity in a locker room. Oh my gosh, it's so bad for a team. When you don't hear about the negativity, when you don't hear about the problems, when you're winning, and guys are happy because you're winning. Guys are all getting paid. You're winning. You're going after World Series title. And that's when the problems arise. And again, 2015, 2016, yeah, Adam Eaton was a pain in the ass. But so were other guys on that team. It wasn't just Adam Eaton. And the other thing we've heard a couple different guys say that does make some sense in my mind because it is a part of the game. Yeah, maybe it doesn't have, you can't say how much it means by numbers or stats on a team or on the field. But it does matter to some teams. And very evident by the 2005 team. Who was the biggest D-bag in the league? Nobody liked. Sox fans hated him from when he was in Minnesota. Just a loudmouth prick who nobody liked. A.J. Przinsky. And I know the difference is Eaton's been here and rubbed people the wrong way when he was here. But this team does need a little edge. There's not many guys on this team that play with an edge. Tim Anderson, he plays with an edge. Who else plays with an edge on this team? I want to see those type of guys. And you know what? Lance Lynn and Adam Eaton, they play with an edge. Now, yeah, of course, you always want the best players. But if you think that skill set fits your team and he can bring you an edge, it's an added bonus. It's an added bonus. And, Lance Lynn was asked on the Danny Parkin show today, what are your thoughts now? Because he used to be a big, don't show up other players, don't showboat, don't do this, don't do that. And he said, we've all learned. A lot of us have learned. Now, they're still the old school guys, but he's one of these guys that admits that he's learned from all this, and he knows that this is guys just trying to express themselves. If a guy hits a big home run and throws his bat, he pimps it a little bit. That's just him being himself and him letting the fans know, who he is. They want to market themselves out there a little bit. Baseball's always honed that in. Now they're letting these guys show themselves a little bit, and Lance Lynn's like, he basically, in a roundabout way, said, I'm cool with it now. And I'm someone who, I'm the same way. I've come around on it. I think it's awesome. I think, it adds a lot to the game. I think there's a time and place. If you're down 9-1 in the 8th inning and you hit a solo home run with 2 outs in the 8th, don't be pimping a home run. I think that makes you look like a dumbass. You're down 15-3 and you get a strikeout to end the 8th inning. Don't be pumping your fist. You'll look like a dumbass. So I really think that Lynn and Eaton do bring an edge. If they added Liam Hendriks, he brings an edge. Now it didn't work out, but remember before the Astros series, Hendriks was out there talking about, I want to send him home. I'm fine with that. If you want to talk it, back it up. And the A's weren't able to back it up. But it was a great series with the Astros, and they almost got to the ALCS. But I don't mind a guy that does some talking. I don't mind a guy that will let you know what he's thinking. So, again, Adam Eaton is back being a member of the White Sox. He is your right fielder, most likely in a type. He'll probably play 70-ish% of the time. Adam Engel 30. I think that would be the right combo when you look at those two. But it's something where I think fans are freaking out, and I think they're just a little bit overboard. I think we need to take a step back and just let things settle. And I want to finish this podcast by talking about, I tweeted this out. I sent it in a group chat that I'm in. There's 4 things I want to see the White Sox do. And I could even add a 5th to it. We'll have to see how that goes. There's some talk of Rakan saying he likes the backup catching options that are internal. Zach Collins, Sebi Zavala, Yermin Mercedes. I don't know if I agree with that, but hey, let's see what happens before. So if I had to pick a number 5, it would be that. It would be go get a Tyler Flowers, a Mike Zunino, somebody that can give you good defensive catching, someone that knows how to pitch frame, someone that is really good at doing the little things with pitchers to get them to that even higher level. I would go do that. If you can get someone for $3-4 million, just go do it. Spend the money. It's worth it. But let's start. Number 1, the one thing I want to see the White Sox do this offseason, number 1 thing, sign Lucas Giolito to an extension. Get that done. I have no idea what that extension looks like right now. I have not even taken the time to figure out where he's at arbitration-wise, how many years he's got left, this and that and this and that. I really just work that extension out. Get it done now. Get that contract started and get that figured out for your ace, a guy that worked his ass off to get back to where he is. He worked his ass off. Like I said, he went out and worked with Ethan Katz in the offseason, changed his arm slot and did all that, changed his windup, and turned into one of the better pitchers in baseball. You want to lock that guy up. Number 2, as I mentioned, you go get a left fielder / DH, somebody that hopefully can do a little bit of both. If it's Schwarber, if it's Brantley, if it's Jock Peterson, go get a guy like that. Hell, it doesn't even have to be a left-handed hitter. It can be a right-handed hitter. Just go get somebody that gives you a little bit of pop or a lot of pop in terms of Peterson and Schwarber, and somebody that's good with the bat if they don't have a bunch of pop, like a Michael Brantley, and let's go. Let's ride. And then, as I said, when the Andrew Vaughn situation pops up, you figure it out then. Don't worry about it till then, till he's ready. Because it's not a guarantee that he's ready this year. I think he will be. I think he's that good of a player. But it's not a 100% guarantee that he'll be ready this year. Number 3, you got to go finish this pitching staff. Got to go get the back end guy. If it's Liam Hendriks, if it's Trevor Rosenthal, if it's Kirby Yates, there's other Alex Colomé coming back. There are guys out there that the White Sox need to bring in one of them to be at that back end of the bullpen with Aaron Bummer, Cody Hoyer, Matt Foster, and others. So I think that they must do that. And then you got to bring in the 5th starter until Michael Kopech's ready. However they want to do it, they want to do it. And again, it's kind of the same thing as Andrew Vaughn, although it's a little bit different. I think Michael Kopech will be in the majors for sure this season. It's just a matter of when. And that means, can they figure it out to where this guy can go to the bullpen, or this or that, or this or that. And it's good depth for a team down the stretch. You might have a guy, come up lame or just need a couple weeks off because the arm's a little bit sore. as a pitcher. Have that depth with a starter that you bring in. We mentioned Jose Quintana. Garrett Richards is out there. Do you want to take a chance on a guy like Chris Archer? Not really. But there's other guys out there. There's a bunch of guys out there that you can get on one-year deals because that's all they need to be, in my opinion. I wouldn't go over a one-year deal. And you bring in somebody and hope you can get 7, 8 starts out of them, and then maybe they can switch to a bullpen and become the long man, come in, Maybe there's some games where Michael Kopech is, we're going to have you go 3 today because you've gone 6, 6, 7. I didn't want to do the 3 6s there. 6, 6, 7 innings, and we want you to kind of take it easy on this one. We're going to throw you 3, or we're going to throw you 40 pitches, and then we're going to bring in Garrett Richards or Jose Quintana, whoever it is, to be the next guy, kind of a piggyback start like you see in the minor leagues a lot. Hell, you've been seeing it here in the major leagues start to pop up a little bit. So I think that's the third thing. You got to finish out this pitching rotation or pitching staff. Get the back end guy and get the fifth starter. So the back end of the rotation, back end of the bullpen. Get those 2 spots done, and then you're ready to roll into this season. You get those 3 more players. And then the fourth, if you want the backup catcher, a Tyler Flowers, a Mike Zunino, somebody like that where they come in and they be the backup to Yasmani Grandal. And then the fourth thing, I mentioned a little bit earlier, who could be that future right fielder? Who could be the guy out there for the next, hopefully, 10 years? And it may not happen this year. Well, it's not going to happen this year. That guy will not be ready this year. But maybe it starts next year. Maybe he shows you like, damn, this guy is better than we even thought. He is almost ready. Maybe he can make his debut this year. And then you say bye to Adam Eaton in the offseason, and this guy takes over. You're signing one of Yolkis, I believe is how you pronounce his first name, Cespedes, and or, obviously you'd love both, but, you hear guys like James Fox and others from Future Sox who know a little bit more in depth of that kind of stuff, that they're probably not going to get both. They're going to have to figure out which one they like more. So, Yolkis Cespedes or Oscar Colas. I mean, if you get one of those 2 guys, you have to get one of those 2 guys. We've seen Instagram stories from Oscar Colas over the last few days, him in Sox shirts. There's a picture of him and his agent, who I believe is the same agent as Yoel Moncada. The agent's wearing a Sox hat. I mean, things are really pointing towards the White Sox when it comes to Oscar Colas, and maybe he's the guy. If you could get both, again, you stand on the rooftops and clap for Rick Hahn and Marco Patti. If they accept the money and they decide to split the money or whatever they end up doing to get both, I mean, that's going to be a monster duo. But you got to get one of them. Bring in one of them, and you hope they're ready by 2022. If not, you'll figure it out next year. If not, maybe Adam Eaton puts up the season and you say, you know what, 8.5's worth it. We'll figure it out when it's time. This is baseball. You're not locked into these long-term deals. You know, if you don't have to, like, hey, Bryce Harper's a great player. Would I love to have him here? Of course. Man, there's still 12 years left on that contract. And it is all guaranteed. So there's a lot of things the White Sox can do. I know Sox fans are frustrated, but again, we have to trust what Rick Hahn is doing. He's built this thing the way he's wanted to build it. This is his move. We don't know if it was Kenny Williams. We don't know if it was Tony La Russa. We don't know if it was Jerry Reinsdorf pushing to get him back. But overall, the move is on Rick Hahn and the White Sox organization. We have to trust them that they are continuing to make the right moves for this team. Yeah, you can not like it. I completely understand that. You can voice your frustration. I'm never going to say you can't. And I wouldn't say I'm frustrated. I was a little puzzled by it. But when you dive deeper into the numbers, you can see why they like him a little bit. It's really, really interesting. We really have to see the other moves. If you come out of it with Peterson or Brantley or Schwarber, and Quintana and Hendricks. And those are your 5 players you brought in. Lance Lynn, Adam Eaton, Liam Hendricks, say Jock Peterson's the left fielder, and Jose Quintana. I mean, that's exactly what you need to do this offseason. And the White Sox went out and did it. You know, if they don't spend $130 million, it's okay. It is okay. I like I said, I didn't think there was real, outside of Springer and outside of Bauer, I didn't think there was these long-term guys available. I wasn't one that wanted to spend big prospect capital on Blake Snell. Yeah, there's a couple other starters, you know what, I liked. There was a little talk of Zach Wheeler, although that got squashed by the owner not too long ago. But there wasn't a lot of guys I like. And to tell you the truth, I wasn't a big Lance Lynn guy. But the more I look into it, the more I make sense of it now that it's here and I really think about it. Maybe not being locked in is okay. Maybe you figure it out. If you go out here and you win a title or you're in the World Series or in the ALCS, guys will want to play because this roster is only going to get better with Michael Kopech. Dylan Cease should take that next step under Ethan Katz. At least we're all hoping. You're going to get Garrett Crochet. You're going to get Andrew Vaughn. Hopefully one of these young Cuban outfielders signs and is part of this team in the very near future. You know, guys are still coming. You got these young pitchers. Jared Kelly supposedly looked outstanding this past year in the Schaumburg, down in Schaumburg at the alternate site. You got Matthew Thompson. You got Andrew Dahlquist. You got guys still coming. And you got some young players that are developing. Guys will want to be a part of this organization to try and win a championship. That's what it's all about. And in my opinion, just trading away guys to try and win now, it's sometimes it's crazy that you just want to ship away everything and say, well, we got Blake Snell. Let's go. We're going to win a World Series now. Well, it's not guaranteed. I know it helps. It makes you better. But it's not guaranteed. And sometimes when you ship out guys, sometimes you ship out the wrong guys. And then the right guys stay and come out looking a little bit foolish. If you want an example of that, look to the north side of town. Now, they got their World Series, so I'm not going to, take shots at the Cubs. But, Gleyber Torres, he's a monster in New York. And there was a lot of talk around Schwarber in that deal, and the Cubs reportedly did not want to trade him. Now we see the Cubs. What are they doing? And a lot of it has to do with the financial situation with the Ricketts and everything, the Marquee Network and all this stuff. But you send out the wrong guys, and things don't pan out right. Sometimes it's tough. Sometimes it's tough, and it can knock you down really quick. It can knock you, like we all thought in 2016 when the Cubs won the series. We thought, damn, this team's put together for a long time with more talent coming. Now here we are, and we're like, damn, what are the Cubs doing? Are they going to trade away Yu Darvish after the season he just had? Are they trading away Chris Bryant? Chris Bryant's definitely not back next year no matter what. They're trying to get rid of the $18 million this year. Javi Baez, what's going on with him? I mean, we got Len Casper, the Cubs broadcast announcer, their play-by-play guy, switching sides of town. He's going to the radio job for the White Sox. Now, it's a dream job of, he says, doing radio. But you have him saying, Tim Anderson's the best shortstop in Chicago. Things have changed. Things are crazy. The Cubs have some young talent. Don't get me wrong, and they got more coming. But it's not a lot. It's not like they had their little influx of talent. Then they had to spend and spend and spend. Whereas the White Sox are trying to do it where they're bringing a huge influx of young talent. And then they spend here or there to bring guys in. Dallas Keuchel, Yasmani Grandal, Lance Lynn you traded for, Adam Eaton. That's what they're trying to do. And we have to give it time and see how it works out. I really do. Next year's not a great free agent class either. But there's some guys. If you're still looking for an outfielder, there's a guy named Michael Conforto that's going to be a free agent. So there are some guys. This went a lot longer than I thought it was going to, but I really got into it. And while I understand why a lot of you don't like the move, you got to look at it and take a step back and say, let's see what they do the rest of the offseason. If Lynn and Eaton are it, and then it's just some non-roster guys and they bring in some middle reliever, yeah, then let's go. We're bringing torches out and being like, what the hell is going on? But if they're spending on 5 guys that, equal just say 55, let's say $75 million, they're still spending $75 million. Plain and simple. So I don't know exactly what's going to happen. I don't even think they get to $75 million if you look at it. But overall, if you give Hendricks, say 39, say he gets 3 years 39 or 3 years 36, and you got 16, that's, so you could get above 50. Yeah, I know it's not a ton, but they're making sure that they spread out their money and they get everything they need. They feel like they're filling every single hole. And I understand you'd rather have Jock Peterson. That's what I said too. But maybe you still get Jock Peterson. I kept talking about the fact of, in my head, what kept making sense was Jock Peterson, Michael Brantley. Jock Peterson, Michael Brantley. Well, there was some talk from somebody I think it was Nightingale, who said Michael Brantley was out of their budget. Well, we got to take a step. Everybody freaked out and was like, well, if they're not in their budget, then if that's not their budget, then yikes. Well, I get that thought process, but you got to look at it and say, maybe those words are twisted a little bit. Maybe Michael Brantley was saying, I want 3 years at $18 million per year, so we're talking $52 million. And the White Sox are like, I'm not doing that. I'm not paying $52 million for a 34-year-old outfielder / DH, especially when we have Andrew Vaughn coming. We have hopefully younger guys. We don't want to be stuck with that contract. Yeah, if you want to do 1 year, $18 million, we could probably do that. But if he's stuck on 3 years and the White Sox see a chance to get Adam Eaton, who reportedly had a market, according to Mark Feinstein, you strike. You strike when it's there. And you know what? Maybe, like I said, I kept saying Jock and Michael Brantley. Made sense. They could be your corners. Eloy could DH. Scott Merkin is in the chat we talked, and he said, don't DH Eloy every day. You'll lose him. Eloy doesn't want to DH. That's fine. I'm fine with that. I like guys that want to be out on the field. Eloy scares me out there because of the injuries and everything, but I definitely think that you can work past it, and he can definitely be a left fielder, but maybe a split time. Maybe Jock plays 60% and Eloy plays 40%. Maybe it's, whoever, if it's Michael Brantley. However they set it up, I don't really care, but you got one outfielder in Adam Eaton. I know a lot of people have their feelings, but he's here. It's time to roll. And he has been a solid player in the past. Plain and simple, he's been a solid player. So, definitely some things to think about. This has been a great podcast, I think. I think this has been the most fun one I've done because we're getting action. The Lance Lynn thing got me kind of going. And then the Adam Eaton trade, hot stove is here. And, we're not always going to agree with every move they make because we all have the move we want them to make. And when it's not our move, we get a little frustrated with that. We get a little like, I wanted them to do this, and I want them to do that. We got to wait to see the whole sum. So don't fly off the handle and curse the team and curse Reinsdorf and curse this and curse that. Let's see what they do. Because at the end of the offseason, when they go to spring training, you may look at this lineup, you may look at this pitching rotation, you may look at this bullpen and be like, yeah, we're the best team in the AL. We can compete with the Dodgers for the World Series. We can compete with whoever for the World Series. That's what you got to say heading into spring training. They could still definitely do that. All right, you can follow me on Twitter at Adam G. Sager, on Instagram at Adam G. Sager. Email the show at straight2thepointpod@gmail.com. Thanks for listening, guys. I'll talk to you here in the near future because I'm sure more moves are going to happen. Talk to you later.